All right, cool. So, like you said, my name is Eldridge Washington. I am very excited about this conversation. I like to call this panel the panel of superheroes because everybody up here is changing the world in their own way. So my whole goal, I have a couple of goals on this. One, I want you to learn something. Two, I want you to engage. But three, ask us the hard questions. So we're going to open up this conversation to the crowd as well. And let's just have a conversation. We don't have to be too formal. So again, my name is Eldridge Washington. Quick intro about me. I'm the co-founder of Spendify, a digital platform that helps you find black-owned businesses in your city. We're live nationwide in about 10 major markets, voted best tool to find black-owned businesses by Ebony Magazine and Black Enterprise. I am also a founder of MADE, Motivated Adults Developing Excellence, which is a nonprofit here in the Atlanta area that focuses on leadership development through service. So with that being said, I believe my panelists are amazing, so I'm gonna let them just kind of introduce themselves. First question, who are you, what do you do, and what is your superpower? Let's start there.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ilysia Bonello. I am a servant. I love people. I love to serve people. I love being around people. And so even at the age of 13, I just wanted to be able to be involved in some organization that would help me to do that. And so I joined the NAACP. In addition, I have been a part of several human rights organizations. I've worked with the U.S. Human Rights Network. I've worked with just a myriad of nonprofit organizations. Received my master's in public administration to take that to another level and future becoming an executive director of a nonprofit one day. But in and of itself, currently I work at a psychologist practice. Again, another ministry that I believe in because we don't often talk about mental health, particularly in the Black community. And so helping others become their best selves is what I do. I mentor young girls particularly, but young people, and I also do that on a global level as well. My superpower is simply to love, to listen, and allow people to be heard.
I like it. Let's give it up for her. Let's give her a round of applause. Our next panelist, Mr. Shawn, tell us who you are, what do you do and your superpower?
Yes. My name is Shawn Walton. I'm a native of Atlanta. I'm the founder and executive director of We Cycle Atlanta, which is a nonprofit bicycle shop that gets youth and adults on wheels, which is an acronym for work ethics, health, economics, environment, leadership, and sustainability. I don't know if I said it, but I am, again, I'm a native Atlantan, and I think my superpower right now is rootedness. So I think roots are important to gain roots in the city of Atlanta, to be where you're from, and also to just have the roots in the social activism that goes on in the city of Atlanta. I really appreciate the fact that I'm sitting next to someone who, again, kind of represents NAACP, and I see a lot of young people out here because when I had that first taste for, justice, trying to get active, when I was 14, I joined the NAACP.
All
so
right.
This is an official endorsement for the NAACP if you're trying to, get that taste of social activism. But again, Shawn Walton.
Nice. Mr. Chip, you're next.
Hey everyone, I'm Chip Harden. I'm a co-founder of Soft Giving. We're a local tech firm in Atlanta. We're a fundraising platform for nonprofits. We allow individuals to send micro contributions to the organizations that they're passionate about. So fixed amount of change per day. We let people send their spare change digitally. So second question
Your
was?
superpower.
Superpower, I don't know. I can say that my aspiration, and I fall short of this daily, but is to be of maximal service to those around me. And I think that social enterprise is a term that gets thrown around a lot these days, but we're trying to make that a reality. Operation Hope is a partner of ours in that, and ultimately we're trying to partner with organizations like Operation Hope to use financial services for the greater good.
Cool, perfect. Give them a round of applause. And again, the question is who are you, what do you do, and what is your superpower? Because this is the panel of heroes, because we're all changing the world in our own way.
Okay, so I am Chiaki Jones. I'm the program manager of creative industries at Invest Atlanta. So my role is working with the local content creators in film, music, and digital entertainment, being their advocate for them as city government, creating programs to invest in them, creating opportunities for them to grow outside of the city of Atlanta and locally. And then also just making sure when we're creating new incentives and laws that we make sure that we're keeping our creatives in mind. And so I guess my superpower would be being an advocate, because I'm very territorial about my creative community and making sure that they're taken care of with anything that we do.
Perfect. Give them a round of applause. Again, like I said, I'm excited about these panels because each and every one of them are super amazing. So we're going to talk about change. How do we change our culture, our society? And you two hit on something very important. I'm a firm believer that no great leader has done it alone. You can't talk about Dr. King unless you talk about SCLC. You can't talk about Malcolm X without the Nation of Islam. You can't talk about Fannie Lou Hamer without NAACP. So like, why is it so important to join an organization, and why is it important to do it now at a younger age, especially since we're talking to the next generation? I'll give it to one of you all just to jump in.
Well, I'll start off. It's critically important, as he said, that you may have an idea and you think it's a very unique idea, but in reality, there might be another group of people who have a similar idea, and that they have already come up with some ideas or plans or thoughts or actions around that idea. There is power in numbers. And if you have like-minded people that come together, as the great, who was it, philosopher, I believe it was JC, but the quote was, I'm a force by myself, but I'm a movement together. And so it's important to know that building with other people builds power, builds opportunity, builds funding, builds a movement that is created by a thought, whether it's a unique thought or a thought come together with a group of people. And so joining an organization allows you resources that you may have an idea and you're at point A, but in order to get to point Z, you may need to go ahead and tag on to somebody else to get you to point B. You have no idea how you're going to get to point D, but if you continue to collaborate with other individuals, they can identify people, resources, and opportunities that will be able to allow you to bring your plan to manifestation.
I got a follow-up question. Please, by show of hands, how many of you all feel like you have a really great idea that could possibly change your community, your world? So that's a lot of people. So how do you approach your organization? If I don't want to start my own and I want to take your advice, how do I approach your organization without making it seem like I'm being too pushy and offensive to someone that's already doing the work? Because obviously we have a lot of amazing ideas.
A lot of us on the panel are 20th century babies, but you all are 21st century. This is the most powerful instrument that has been created. In fact, the advances on the smartphone came because there were quote unquote nerds and other innovators that came together and said, hey, I think we can make this better. So if you are interested in an organization, open up your phone, Google the organization itself, find out what they're about, if you're even interested in that. Just like many of us who joined a sorority or a fraternity, you had some idea about what the organization was about, but you also did your research to find out, is this a fit? Because it's important to know, you may have an idea and you may think this organization is good for you, but if it's not the right fit, you probably won't be there long. So it's important to do your research, just like a relationship. Is this gonna work? Are there more pros and cons to being a part of this organization? And if you think that it's something that you wanna do, so Google them, find out about them, and then find out how you can get involved. And it's very easy.
I kind of want to add on to that, just especially the last question that you spoke of. Why is it important for young people to get into an organization? First and foremost, you guys want to get that edge. If you're in kind of a social type of mediation situation where you have a heart for the people and you start that early, like there's not a lot of people who care. Can we agree to that?
It's not enough.
There's not enough people who care. And so as you distinguish yourself as one of those people who care early, that sets you apart. And then people want to kind of take care of or nurture what it is that your dream is. And Eldridge, you said something else that was very real. Coming into a new organization, how do you get into it and how do you not seem so pushy? Because oftentimes you don't have those preconceived notions. You don't have any of those kind of historical, I guess anything that has happened in that organization, you come in with a new mind, new set, you come up with an innovative approach, and sometimes they're not always ready for that. And sometimes, again, everybody hears it, you have to pay your dues in life or whatever. So go in, volunteer, pay your dues, be humble, keep those ideas, And when it's your time, those ideas are going to flourish. But again, it may just simply be a stepping stone for you. But again, the most important thing is to make sure that you're establishing yourself early, because when you do so, you're a little brother to everybody, you know what I'm saying? You're a little sister to everybody, and all they want to do is give you vast information that when you get older or break from, you know, it might be a little bit harder to come by. So, you know, be humble, go in, pay your dues, start early.
I like that. And paying your dues, you never stop doing it. I'm gonna just be real. I think that's how you get better. A lot of us have the skill sets to be quarterbacks, but I always say find a team that you're honored to be their water boy. Find people that are better than you and greater than you. Pay your dues to them, and you'll see growth. I want to skip down to Ms. Jones. You said something really cool. I think you have a cool job.
Thank you.
You're managing content creators. Anybody spend a lot of time watching content on social media like me? Ha Davis, that's my man. You know what I'm saying? This panel is finna be a breeze. So as far as how can content really change the world? Like, how can we leverage this content to change the world? Because we're consuming at an all-time rate. And is it room for more content creators in this space? And if so, how could they get involved with it?
Yeah, I mean, I believe content can change the world depending on what the messaging is that you're putting out there. A lot of people are starting to do a lot of content around social justice issues, women issues, African American issues. So it definitely can change the world. It's just about reaching that audience and instilling it and putting that fire into those change makers that want to share the message that you're putting out there. Of course, there's room for content. Netflix always needs content. Disney needs content. Amazon Prime needs content. Instagram needs content. It's just all about how you're packaging it and then also how you're marketing it.
Do you have any, and I'm just asking questions for myself, I don't know about y'all. Do you have any like resources or tools? How do we, I mean, it's a lot of us who would want to get your own content on Netflix? You know, everybody, right? Like, how do you go about that? How do you find a way to package it and going to a content buyer like Netflix?
So one of the things that I started at our organization through the city is our first Industries Loan Fund. So we have a lot of different financing tools for people that have brick and mortar businesses, but we had nothing for people that were creating content in film, music, and digital entertainment. So we created a fund that are for local content creators to use for production, post-production, marketing and distribution, and then on the music side, in addition to that, you can use it for touring and festivals. To go through the process, we have an application process on our website. You basically fill out the application and it's vetted through a board of all industry experts. So we made sure we kept the politics out of it and had people that were working in these industries that can look at your content and say, this looks like a good project, but maybe they should tighten up on the distribution and marketing of the distribution plan on this, or the marketing plan, or these financial projections don't make sense. So we try to make it also an education tool. So if you are denied, we can tell you this is why you were denied. This is what you need to do more research on. This is where you need to strengthen your application, but then also point you in a direction with people that can help you do that as well. So it's the first time that the city government is investing in content, and we're already looking for how can we do more, or I'm looking for ways that we can do more, because we should support our creative community the same way that we support our technology communities, manufacturing, and every other industry that we attract to the city of Atlanta.
Nice, I like it. Y'all make sure y'all get her card, content creators. I promise you, we need it. Chip, I'm gonna go to you. We just talked about how content can change the world, but we know how technology is changing it. And for those that don't know, Chip has a company called Soft Giving, and it is revolutionizing the way we fundraise. I would say that personally. This is my endorsement.
Well, thank you.
It's a great company, and I think what it did for me, it empowered me to be more of a consistent giver. You know, we all have causes, but we all don't feel like we know how to give. So how do you feel like technology is going to change the way we change the world? How do we approach it? And specifically, how is your company doing it?
Yeah, I think technology a lot of times can be a catalyst for change. Specific to soft giving, what we're trying to do ultimately is we're trying to really sort of democratize giving. So giving as it's presently constituted today relies heavily on very high net worth individuals to write big checks.
Right.
And the majority of us are not high net worth individuals, And I venture to say that the
Except
majority
Shawn, he's rich.
I venture to say that the majority of people in this room don't have a checkbook. And so, I think that technology can play a catalyst to, a sort of mass adoption of small gifts that in the aggregate add up and are impactful to the organizations that those respective individuals are passionate about. I'll also say that on the content side, and let me first say that I don't know anything about content. I'm getting a little out of my depth here, but I will say that there's always room for, I think I heard you say, valuable content. And one thing that we've noticed recently relative to soft giving and just fundraising in general is that there is, there's all these people, there's all these social media influencers out there that are advocating on behalf of things that they care about. This usually today, it takes the form of consumer products that they like, which is great. And I don't think that there's any reason why that trend can't spill over into charitable contributions as a catalyst for further change. So it's kind of a hybrid answer to your question.
Nice, I love it. So my question is, so we having a conversation about the next gen. That's what this is all about. When it comes to young people in this room, in our community, in the city of Atlanta, what exactly would you like to see as it pertains to your industry and what you're doing? How would you like to see young people get involved, and how could you support them if this is something they would personally want to do?
What I would like to see young people.
I didn't want to say, man, my question is bomb, dog.
Yo, no. What I would like to see
from the
young
dome,
people,
bro. Come on.
no, what I would like to see young people do is not let up. Don't shut up. Keep talking, keep asking questions, keep asking why, because ultimately, why the people probably up here go so hard is because they know that we have to create something almost that has not been created to sustain our generation. And in knowing that we have to do that at this present moment, we're very cognizant that you guys, like whatever we're creating, has to be responsive for you. But as you guys get to our age, again, it's going to be a whole level of responsiveness that you guys are going to have to cater to. So just keep asking why, keep working, and get involved, just super early. You guys are going to have to create the next institutions to make sure that your generation and generations after you are going to be sustained. So continue to keep on thinking of new creative ways, and don't get caught up in technology as well. We get so high touch that we forget about, we get so high tech that we forget about touch. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And so I don't want that to get lost upon y'all. It certainly may have gotten lost, or at least it's being remembered now by a lot of us millennials, but do not get so far gone from actual touch conversations, because you guys are going to need that as well. But again, what I would like to see for you guys, continue to create more innovative solutions, use this technology, but also use personable skills. Make sure that you're sitting at those circles, sitting on those tables, having those conversations about what needs to change so that you guys can sustain your own livelihoods.
For me, I want you guys to be globally minded, but locally involved. As a second generation, my family comes from Jamaica, and I'd say about 75% of my friends are part of the African diaspora. And so being able to visit and teach and learn from people from Ghana and China and the Caribbean and UK and Canada and all these places, a lot of times we have our blinders on about what's going on in the US. We don't have the chance to really open our minds and our hearts to what's going on in the rest of the world. So I implore you to travel, to read, to engage. A lot of us listen in terms of the music. The culture is global and it's around the world, but we don't take the time to go beyond just the music and the fashion. And so I'm encouraging you to really get outside of ourselves and be able to engage not only in your local community, but just what's happening in the world. And YouTube and Instagram and all these media platforms allows you to do that. So outside of the pop culture, get involved in the world culture and help that to frame who you are. And of course, go out and travel. A lot of times people spend money, someone talked about popping bottles in the other symposium, spending money, the material things. But experiences are the one thing that no one can ever take away from you, education and experiences. So educate yourself, not only what's happening in the classroom, but about what you enjoy and what you want to learn about. Expose yourself so that you can get beyond yourself. And when you're able to do that, one of my organizations would love to take students over to Ghana, so you get a real experience about what Africa is about, not what someone told you, but you see it for the beauty and the brilliance. So we have to do that, and it doesn't take a lot of money. It takes a different mindset. It takes an opportunity to do your own microfunding for yourself personally to raise the money, but when you have such an experience, it can never be taken away from you.
I think that's a quick goal. Raise your hand if you have not traveled out the country yet. Nothing to be ashamed of. That's our goal. We got to get that in, and she's gonna take us. She just said it's on camera.
Holla at me.
All right, next. Again, like, what do you want to see, Chip? What do you want to see from young people? Like, as far as leveraging technology, like, how do you want to see them get involved? What could you get behind and support?
So at the risk of piggybacking here, I mean, I like what was said earlier about just impressing upon young people to get involved at an early age. I mean, that's something that candidly, I'm sure someone told me the same thing, but I didn't listen. I think that like, for me personally, I had a realization at some point that just showing up for work and doing my job and going home was not enough, and that there may be too few people that truly care, but the ones that do really care.
Go hard.
Right.
That's my next question.
But those people, I mean, I think someone said on the last panel that, like, no one's going to know if you need help if you don't ask for it. Well, similarly, I mean, those people are never going to find you. They're never going to hear your ideas, et cetera, if you're not going and meeting with them. And those, I mean, that can manifest itself in very baby steps as far as, like, getting involved with local nonprofits, associations, et cetera. But I think that's just critically important. And I would also, and I know I'm being unoriginal here, I'm just piggybacking, but I also would really second that idea about, reading about what's going on globally and using that as a way to define yourself on a local level. I think that to the extent that you're exuding that, you're even more valuable in those discussions that you're talking about.
Perfect. Ms. Jones, you want to answer that? Want to jump in?
It's kind of piggybacking as well. Well, with me working in city government, usually the people that I encounter are those older people that are advocating for change, or they're complaining about what's going on in their cities, or what they want to see happening in their neighborhoods. What I would like to see going forward is seeing more of our local youth getting involved in politics. You need to know what's going on in your city. You need to know what legislations are being passed. You need to know what laws are being passed. But not only that, we need younger people in these seats to advocate for those changes to happen in your community. So we need more young people running for city council. We need more young people running for offices that are in the mayor's office, or even like offices like mine, working for economic development agencies. You just never know what change you can impact by being in some of these rooms and being at some of these tables. Like even starting by going to like your neighborhood planning unit meetings, listening to what your communities are planning to do or advocating for their city council to go to legislation with. You just need somebody that always have your best mind, I don't know what I'm trying to say, your best heart at mind, or whatever it is, just to make sure that you're involved, because you would be surprised at some of the things that we see or that your communities are advocating for. So.
I love what you said about running for politics, getting involved with your community. Just a quick note for everybody. If you don't know who your city council is, your representative on the board of education, your state representative, there is an app called Empowered, and you literally download it, put in your address, and it pulls up all of your representatives. Empowered is spelled EMPOWRD, and it's a great app. I just had to put that out there. It educated me. I know my city council person, but I didn't know my state rep and all of that. So this app
and
is
reach
amazing.
out to them, like talk to them. You should know.
And just to piggyback on that, we're not talking about waiting until your 20s or your 30s. A young lady, Mary Pat Mary Pat Hector, also with National Action Network. She was 19 years old and ran for a position in DeKalb County. So Byron Amos, who also ran for city council, he was in college or shortly after graduating Morehouse College when he ran for Atlanta Board of Education. So it doesn't matter the age, it matters the passion, the people around you who are going to push you and to get out there. She didn't win, but that's not the point. You just got to get out there. I think the decade of the 20s is the decade of failure, and that's a good thing. Because if you fail, at least you try. Because you never win 100% of the shots that you don't take. So shoot your shot. Be able to go out there, try it, and at least you won't have regret when you get older. But you tried it, you failed, but more so you learned. And then you were able to get up and try something again.
I got so many more questions, but that was a great, I want to open it up really fast. I want to wrap up right there. Do we have any questions in the audience before we wrap up on time? Any questions? None at all. Y'all were so good. Y'all answered everything. What you got left?
Okay, so for people that are actively engaged in, I guess, social change, how do you stay motivated in knowing that your efforts may not be seen until the next generation? And then with your tech platform, how have you been motivated by just the people that you see making use of it? And what are you doing beyond your role to, I guess, continue that work?
Nice. We'll let Chip jump into that because she kind of talked about the tech platform.
What was the first part?
How do you stay motivated?
Stay motivated.
Stay motivated.
Well, that was for the people that are like actively in social change every day.
Okay.
How do you stay motivated in knowing that you may not see your efforts while in your lifetime? And then for you specifically, how have you been motivated by people using your platform, and what are you doing outside of your role to affect change?
Yeah. So I've been in the fintech industry, payments industry for a while now. It wasn't until about 18 months ago that I co-founded SoftGiving and tried to, sort of use financial services for the greater good, if you will. I'm continually amazed by people's generosity and general, altruism. So the model that we employ is one where we have a direct relationship with the nonprofits, and then it's sort of incumbent upon us to help them market the program to go get donors using the platform. And as with any startup, it's not like you just put it on the website and everything goes smoothly. I mean, it's a very high touch product in that, I have conversations with donors all the time, and so I help them get signed up, et cetera, if need be. And those are rarely short conversations. They're usually long conversations where these individuals cite for me in great detail why they're giving to that respective organization, and it's usually a really moving reason. And it keeps me excited about what we're doing, and it gives me a lot of hope for the future. Frankly, I mean, most of the people that I'm speaking to are younger individuals who are compelled to give in a way that is ultimately sustainable to the organization and not a one-off kind of transaction.
And to answer your second part about being actively involved in social justice, I know for me, I think one of the most eye-opening moments is when I realized, it's a biblical reference, that I wasn't Joshua. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just knew, Joshua, he going to the land of milk and honey, he going to the next level. When I realized, wow, the work I'm doing, I'm probably not going to see the fruits of it. It's my nephew and my little cousins, like the younger generation. So what kind of motivates me is knowing that we are the ancestors of tomorrow. And when they read about what we're living right now, I want to know that I was on the right side of history. And that is how I stay inspired.
And I also want to kind of throw out there as
I was about to drop the mic, but keep going.
Because, I feel like social change is kind of like a forestry path type of situation. And a lot of times, you're standing at the beginning of this forest, and you know that there's something on the end of this forest that's greater, right? And you got to make your way through this forest, and you're passionate enough, or you have enough vision to see at the end of that forest or whatnot, but you know, you're stuck in the middle. A lot of times you're either running into trees or you're admiring them. I would hope that you would begin to learn how to admire trees. A lot of times we can, get disinterested or lose that motivation because we're not looking at how beautiful the trees are around us, because we know that there's a whole heap of forest. And that's another way that we kind of get discouraged, because with social activism or change, sometimes we get so caught up on the negative that we don't realize all the positives that have happened. You know what I'm saying? And we can get really stuck in that. So whether it be accomplishments, how far you got, or people who you feel like should support you. You see what I'm saying? But there's always some type of progress that you need to be in the conscious habit of acknowledging every single day and being thankful for. Because again, like that's imperative.
Okay, drop your mic.
It's a cell phone.
Do we got enough time for one more question?
We got one more question in the back, and then I'm going to ask you all to give your final remarks and how we can stay in touch with you, and then we'll be done.
Okay. All right, so can you guys hear me?
Yes, Kadeem.
All right, cool. So I know you guys up on the panel, you guys have, thank you, brother, appreciate it.
You guys have done a lot, right? Obviously, that's how you made it to the panel. But my question for you, social change, right, is just another term for something is wrong and we want to fix it. It needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
Each and every one of you have run across an issue that you have determined needs to be fixed. Unfortunately, maybe fortunately, a lot of times the things that we see to be wrong have been put in place by those who have come before us. I don't know about y'all, but I grew up in a household where my mama told me I make the rules. You don't tell me nothing. So as a young person interested in social change, what have you learned in telling other generations that might be a little bit older than you, been around the block a little bit more than you have, about, hey, something needs to change here, we can do this better, but in a nice, polite way where you're able to make things happen for you and make the community better?
Yeah.
I think I can address it. I think it goes back to our first question about how do you join organizations without being too pushy. I think again, it can be offensive when you tell someone, oh, something is wrong, especially when that person been working longer than you've been living, and you telling them that you have an idea to do it better. I think it just goes back to serving. A best example I can give, I am Derek Bozeman, former city councilman, Michael Langford. Michael Langford, his brother Arthur Langford is who Langford Parkway is named after. So these are my mentors, and I met them when I was 23. I'm 29 years old now. And when I first met them, I said nothing. I just served. I did what they want me to do. For me, it was just the honor of being in the room and being able to listen to what they were doing. And after a while, after being serving, after being consistent, what happened, the trust was built, and then my opinion was valued. And now I'm bringing change into the organization I'm a part of. I'm being put in a position of leadership because I was patient, I was consistent, but the number one thing, I served. And that's how I have personally did it.
Yeah. And I would say from my role, it's what I've encountered when it comes to working with the older people, it's more of an education thing. A lot of them put this in place because they did not know what was coming. They don't really understand technology. They really don't understand creative industries. So I use it as an opportunity to educate them. This is what's going on. This is where our city is going, and this is how we need to prepare for it. A lot of them have been very receptive to that because nobody's really taken the time to help them understand it. But then also when it comes for the people that I'm advocating for, educating them too. Like educating them on going, this is how city government works. This is why we can and cannot do certain things. And if you want to do it, on each side, like let's just get creative and make sure that everybody's needs is met, but we're still moving the community forward. So I think from my side, it's more just educating them on things that they're not educated on.
The biggest lesson that I had to learn as a social advocate is change is incremental. It's very small rather than exponential. It doesn't happen quickly, but you have to be able to celebrate, as Shawn said, the small victories. And you have short-term plans, intermediate plans, and long-term plans. And so being able to be patient and to understand, just like the Montgomery bus boycott, it didn't happen in a day, it didn't happen in a week or a month. It took close to a year until it broke their
381
backs.
days.
So it's important to recognize that we all agree that change has to happen. How it happens and when it happens sometimes is out of our hands, but we have to keep building. And as Eldridge said, that it may not be you that is able to see the change, but mentorship has been the most important thing for me, to be the mentor and to see my mentorees now be in city council, be state representatives in across parts of the country, because I chose to invest. So the change may not happen on my watch, but if I am consistent enough to understand that I might be the one that plants the seed, but someone else waters, and then another generation may be able to see the tree grow, then I just have to go ahead and keep doing what I need to do. But you also individually have to recognize self-care is paramount. Nobody's asking you to go and work yourself into the hospital or into the grave. And so you have to take care of yourself, listen to your body, because if not, your body will stop you from personal experience. And so self-care is important, as you oftentimes being selfless to others can be selfish to yourself. And learning how to strike that balance.
That's good. Let's give the panel a round of applause. Thank y'all so much for joining. Really fast, can you just tell us how can we get in touch with you and how can we support what you're doing? And we'll start with you, Ms. Jones.
Investatlanta.com/creatives. All my contact information is on there, and I'm also on social media as Chiaki Alexis.
I know I made that comment about social media earlier, but I'm relatively old school. The easiest way to get in touch with me is chip@softgiving.com. www.softgiving.com is our homepage, and LinkedIn is good for me.
Got you. At Shawn D'Angelo on Instagram and Twitter. At We Cycle Atlanta is my organization. And before I go, I see a lot of youth out here. How many of y'all are actually from Atlanta? Born and raised.
We got some
All right,
rules.
all right. So who's not from Atlanta if you're a youth?
Does Latonya
All right. So Atlanta is such. I'm gonna say this. Atlanta is such a very special place. Mm-hmm. It's a very special place, and y'all are here at a very special. Y'all are here at a very special time. All right, and y'all natives, y'all have so much responsibility to get the education that is needed to be a part of the opportunities that are going on in Atlanta, so that you can be as responsive to Atlantans as you need to be. And not only responsive to Atlantans, but also the kind of social justice spirit that Atlanta has as well. And for the people who kind of, I would say, flew here, all right? We love y'all too, especially those of the diaspora, or those who are allies, but definitely those who are of the diaspora. Like, you guys, the diaspora, coming from wherever you come from, with the education that you have, you guys in Atlanta with the Southern drawl and the spirit, y'all definitely need to come together and create what it is that we need to create in the city of Atlanta, so that we can hold still to the culture. Because if we cannot do it here in the city of Atlanta, it more than likely cannot be done anywhere else in America. So please get together with your friends who flew here, with the folks who grew here, and create those responsive institutions. Figure it out and get the knowledge that you need to be a part of the development and the opportunities that are going on. That's the last thing I wanted to say.
Okay, your comment was as long as your hair. All right, let's go. Last but not least.
So you can find me at ahealingparadigm.com. That's the psychologist's office. Twitter and Instagram, A Bonello. So that's ABONELLO. And LinkedIn as well.
Nice. And I am Eldridge. You can find me on all platforms, including Snapchat, at Just Eldridge, J-U-S-T. Eldridge is E-L-D-R-E-D-G-E. Thank y'all so much. Please, one more round of applause. Thank you so much to Mr. Lewis for calling us all, and for Operation Hope for allowing us to be here.